Howdy, folks, and welcome to the March Catch Up with Keeper webinar. Thank you all so much for joining us. I know busy season is creeping up, if not already upon us, so I appreciate everyone for taking the time. As is our custom, we're going to go ahead and give folks a couple of minutes to trickle on in here before we dive in and get things started. And while we wait for people to show up, would love if you could drop one in the chat and let us know where you're calling in from. Always love to see how many different cities and states get immediately covered. Eureka, Kansas, I think maybe my favorite name of any city. Sorry to all the other cities out there. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get things started. So once again, thank you all so much for joining us for the March Catch Up with Keeper webinar series. In case this is your first ever Catch Up with Keeper webinar, here's the way they typically work. First is I will walk through all the latest changes in Keeper that we shipped over the course of the last month. After we do that, we will open things up to some Q&A. And then third and finally, we will have an app showcase. And this month we have a really, really fun app showcase. Jodie Strong from Hughes and Strong is here to talk about some new advanced workflow tips for the upcoming or for the newly released Templates 2.0, which I'm super excited to share with you all here. All right. So one last housekeeping note. If you have any questions that you'd like answered in the Q&A, please drop them into the Q&A portion of the Zoom bar down below rather than the chat. We'll still try and monitor the chat, but Q&A, just make sure that your question will get addressed. All right. And with that, I am off to the races. We have a lot of updates, so I will do my best to cover them quickly so I can leave enough time for Jodie to talk about templates. But first, I'm going to talk about templates. So the first major feature I'm going to talk about today is our new Templates 2.0 release. So this is a complete ground-up rebuild of all of our existing templates functionality. We didn't cut any functionality, so it's all still there, but everything is more polished, and we added a whole lot of new functionality on top. So first and foremost, we unified project and close templates. So for the longest time, we had these two different templates. And the basic idea was these project templates were designed to be one-off kind of, you apply it once kind of templates, whereas closed templates were designed to be your sort of basic closing checklist for any type of client. But as people got more rich and complex with the templates they built and created, that distinction really didn't carry over. So we unified everything into this single templates tab called tasks. So all of your closing and project templates should now live here in the task templates. All right. Second is, what are some of the new things you can do? The first is you can now finally only choose which sections you want to add into a template. So this is something especially for folks who were creating closed templates. They would find you would have all the sections in there, and especially when we started adding multiple non-closing sections, when really you want to have just this small template of this small thing that you want to apply. So for example, let's look at an onboarding template. So here we have an onboarding template, and all we have in there is an onboarding section that contains onboarding related tasks and some client questions. So this is anything we want to ask our clients about that we'll post into their portal when we apply this template. If you want to create a new template, you just click this plus button right here. everything's going to start empty, and you'll be able to choose what areas you want to add into this template. So if you only wanted to add, for example, a payroll-related template, you could click Add Non-Closing Task Area, maybe name this Payroll, and then add the non-closing section Payroll. Oh, whoops. And yeah, not sure what just happened there, but okay, we will continue where we left off and just, oh, I don't know. Sometimes the devils in my sandbox environment are not great. I wonder if this is because I created two tasks here with the same name. I won't spend too much time working through the wrinkle there, but Templates 2.0 is still I guess has a at least a couple of gremlins we need to get through. So we will work through that bug. But anyways, you can have templates that only have certain sections in them. Okay. Next cool thing is, so let's say we just want to have a, we'll remove some sections here as well. And we just want to have one single payroll task called run payroll in. We want to set this to repeat every 2 weeks on a Monday, starting next Monday. So now we have this task that all it does is we have this template that all it does is have this payroll section in it, in our non-closing task section, and then we can go ahead and apply it to a client. And this is where you'll see the next cool thing, which is we've brought in your client properties so that when you're applying a template to a client or group of clients, you can actually come in here and choose based on the property of the client what you actually want to apply. So here, for example, we actually have a payroll services property. And so we can select this, so we can just filter for the clients who we do payroll for. And then we can select all of these and bulk apply this template to all 3 of these clients. All right. And then the next major update is with the add client functionality. So I'm going to go ahead and back out of templates and talk about add client. So we've redesigned this entire screen. So you can still do everything you could do before, but again, we've tried to make things simpler and easier. So the first thing that you can do is you can now add multiple templates when you're applying a client. So let's say you want to have the default template, and then maybe you do taxes for them. So you want to add the 1040 template. Ooh, I don't know what's causing that crashing today. That's not great. Well, we'll have to have a word with the engineers after the webinar. Well, let's see. Hopefully I can still do this here. Okay, so we'll have to figure out what's going on with a couple of those checklists. But for example, if you wanted to do add your default task template, and then also add payroll, and then also add maybe a new client onboarding, you can choose all 3 of those. And then before you actually add the client, you'll see the template preview that will show what your template contains. So what your client is going to look like before you actually go and create them. And then you can also come in here and choose Preparer, Reviewer, Manager, which can help you assign clients based on Preparer, Reviewer, Manager assignments in templates. And then you can, of course, choose which users get notified about client questions in the portal. And then one more thing you can do here is you can also copy your last used settings. So whatever you most recently used to create a client in Keeper, you can copy those so that if you're really quickly adding a bunch of clients that are maybe assigned to one set of preparers and reviewers and use one particular template, you can just click copy last used settings to really quickly recreate all of those without needing to manually set the fields over and over. All right, so that is it for Templates 2.0. A ton of new functionality that gets unlocked by all of these improvements that I am super excited to have Jodie on today to talk about. But for now, I am going to go into a client and talk about some of the upgrades we've made to receipts over the course of the last month. All right, so I'm going to chunk this out into 4 separate categories: navigation, organization, matching, and authoring. So within navigation, we headed these arrows in the top right-hand corner or top left-hand corner. I know this seems small. here, but it is really helpful for just toggling back and forth between a couple of different receipts. So you can use those. And then the second thing is you can also post a transaction and go to the next transaction immediately. So if you're trying to bulk process through multiple receipts at once, you can post those transactions and immediately have the next transaction brought up. Okay, on to organization. One of the other new improvements we rolled out is, let's say for some reason, if we scan a transaction, we don't recognize it as a receipt, but it should actually be one, should actually be a transaction. You can take this here and then click this $sign that says move to transaction files. $sign is also available here in your actions. But so you can take this $sign and click move to transaction files, and that's going to take that bill and put it down here as well. So now you can have it in your transaction files and edit it like you'd edit any transaction. Okay. Next thing you can do is you can also now group multiple receipts together. So you can sort of merge them together into a single group that will post to a single transaction when you add it. So for example, let's say we have this transaction and this transaction, and we want to merge them together. We can just check the box here on the left and then click this merge files button, and that will bring them together. So just to show what that looks like, if we merge these here, you'll see you now have the two right here. All right, and last but not least on organization, I'm not sure if you call this organization, but this is how I was organizing the organization list. We added the posted transactions table. So you can now see any transactions you've posted, who posted them, the date they were posted, obviously the receipt itself, and then any transaction information right here, so that you can come in and review what got posted when, and then also you can come here and edit anything that maybe needs to be corrected as well. Okay, on to matching. A couple of exciting new upgrades. If we click a match here, biggest and most exciting new change is you can now edit these fields. So if you have software, for example, and you wanted to change this to office supplies, you can just click office supplies and it will instantly make that update right here, so that when you confirm the match, it will post that and then you won't have to go and re-edit the transaction after the fact. This is particularly helpful if you have, for example, uncategorized transactions and you want to categorize them from uncategorized to whatever they should actually be classified to. Another thing, I don't have an example I can show here, but is we now added the check numbers. If you have a check number, for example, or a journal entry number, you should see that next to your type as well on any related matches. Okay, and last but not least, we have a bunch of improvements to our transaction authoring experience. So first and foremost, receipts that are PNGs or PDFs or PNGs that you need to rotate, you can now rotate those here as well, so that you can get things in the right orientation before you start to work on them. Second is we added the ability to type in your transaction dates. So if the OCR got things way wrong, for example, you could just type for 04/20/2024, and then that will autocomplete to April 20th, 2024. If you are in the US, this is MMDDYYYY. If you are in Canada, it is DDMMYYYY. So we respect the sort of regional preferences on transaction date formatting. Another cool thing you can do is you can now do in-cell arithmetic. So let's say we wanted to divide this by 2, 480 over 2. If you click out, that'll go to 240. And then we could add another line here, software, Calendly, admin. So again, anything you want to do here, you can get really fancy with it if you want. You can do 240 squared times 5, and it will autocomplete to whatever that number is. Or you can just type 240, and that will work as well. Another minor thing, let's say you're adding multiple line items and you want to make sure everything tallies out at the end. If we change this from 240 to, let's say, 200, we'll add a new little warning here that we scanned the receipt to be $480. So we got $480 per receipt, but we're only totaling up to $440 in the total amount. So that way you can then go in and add another line item, get this back total to 480 to make sure that you're processing the right amount for that bill or expense. All right, couple more updates here. Almost done with receipts. If you are creating a new vendor, you can now set their email address here. So we won't OCR this, but you can, if you see an email address and you want to make sure that you have that in there, if you need to, for example, pay a bill in Melio or some other bill processing solution, you can make sure you have that email set when you're creating the vendor. All right. And last but not least, a couple of other sort of silent improvements to the OCR and posting engine. On the OCR side of things, we will now OCR due dates. So if you have a bill and there's a due date on that bill, we'll now OCR that into the due date here. And if you have expenses or bills with negative line items, previously those would get invalidated. It would throw an error, but now just like how you could post those in QuickBooks, you can now post transactions or bills, multi-line bills with negative line items in Keeper as well. All right, on to some other closing improvements. So we're going to scroll down to our account reconciliations. And here we've added the new time-stamped balance column. In case you want to turn this on, you can do that from your practice settings, go on over to tasks and enable the account reconciliation time-stamped balance column. What that's going to do here is it's going to timestamp the value of this balance at EOM, which is essentially the month-end balance of that account. And it's going to timestamp that once you complete the task here. So that way, if you come back and you've noticed this number changes, we'll also flag that change for you here. So for example, this Chase checking one is still balanced, but this Brex cash one here we can see is off by $250. And then of course you can go and drill down, click in here as well and see, okay, we've got this one transaction for $250 sitting up here right at the top. Maybe instead of this being classified to Brex cash, we could post it somewhere else. Or of course you could comment and ask a team member why this transaction showed up here in the first place. And that actually leads me to another super small improvement, but hopefully one that will just save you a few clicks, which is when you click to open a commenting cell, your cursor will now be highlighted so you can immediately start typing rather than needing to click here and also start leaving, click here in order to start leaving a comment. So just a couple of minor quality of life improvements there. All right. Forging onward, we now have a new way to set due dates, and that is by business days as well. So you've always had the ability to set a sort of T plus date. So July 8th or August 8th, whatever the date specifies. But now you can set a business day due date. So you can say this should be due on the first business day, on the 5th business day. And what this essentially is doing is it's ignoring weekend days. So if you have, if the third business day, or if you have a weekend, it goes the first and then the second, third, or Saturday, Sunday, then the second business day will be that Monday. So basically not penalizing due dates for your team if you happen to have weekends in the early parts of the month. All right. And a couple of more improvements to talk about here. One minor one that is a big quality of life improvement for some is we now default to having these tables open to show 100 transactions at once by default. So no more scrolling to the bottom to switch this from 20 per page to 100 per page. So you can come here and see any transactions that are in the table up to the first 100. And then, of course, you can continue paging to next pages after that. All right. And last but not least, on the close page, we also added the ability to add footnotes from the profit and loss and balance sheet that will then go into your client's management reports. So here, for example, if we wanted to explain why job supplies it looked so lumpy, we can just click this footnote button right here, add our footnote, and then also choose if you have multiple income statements or multiple balance sheets, where you want that footnote to apply to. And then you can see that get posted into your reporting. Okay, and speaking of reporting, one more change to mention there is we added the ability to add your own custom management reports. So if you don't want to use Keeper's management reports for any reason, but you still want to have the seamless functionality available in the portal where your clients can see their financials right there on the dashboard, they can click publish, and you can click publish and then click upload and publish custom report. And then basically you can just drag and drop a file right here. And then it will act just like a report that you authored and published from Keeper. Okay. And then a couple more super minor updates, important for some. So for those of you who use Zapier, we added a new Zapier trigger for anytime a task changes status. So if you move a task status to done and you wanted that to trigger a Zapier based on some other flow, you can now do that within Zapier. And then last but not least, we also added the ability to have a direct link to a particular client. So here, for example, if we wanted to just go to Democo, all you need to do is where it says CID equals, you just copy this URL. So you can basically delete all the stuff that comes after that, hit enter here, and then that will route you into that client. And so this can be particularly helpful. This was something that this was something suggested to us by Hector Garcia for Write Tools custom group favorites functionality. But any of you who want to bookmark particular clients, you can now do that just by deleting what comes after and just using the CID equals 4033 would be Democo, but you can choose your own client here. All right, and with that, I am going to transition over to the Q&A portion of today's call. So we'll go ahead and pop into there. Whoops, the first one is, can you just go a little slower, please? So sorry about that, folks. I promise we will send out a recording here as well, so that you can watch and rewatch at your pace here. So sorry if I was going too fast. Okay. Kelly asked, how are we able to customize applied templates at the client level without impacting the template level? Okay, so once you apply a template into a client, the template is no longer driving that client. So basically, if you apply a template, it's going to take all of the tasks that are in that template and put them in the client. But from then on out, you can make any changes to the client, and it's not going to make changes back to the template. However, if you then reapply the template into the client, any of those changes will get overwritten based on any new updates you've made in the template. If you don't want that to happen, so if you want, for example, a particular task not to get overwritten by a template, the way that we make those matches from the template to the client is based on the task name. So for example, if we've got this run payroll task here, run payroll in Gusto task, and we did not want any information that we have that's client specific in here to get overwritten by a template that we're about to reapply. All we need to do is just add a period or a space or some other distinguishing character that makes the task name different inside of the client that you're applying the template to. That's different from the template itself. So now run payroll in Gusto is going to have this period at the end. And if we go to the associated template, we've got run payroll in Gusto that doesn't have the period there. So now if we add a checklist, that's just ABC here. And then we apply this into Democo. And now we go back here and refresh the page. So you'll see we now do have two tasks here, one named run payroll in Gusto without a period and one named run payroll in Gusto with a period. But you'll also see we didn't overwrite any information from that original task. So all we need to do now is just delete that task that got duplicated back in from the template. Okay, Cindy asked another question about templates. If I build a pre-close section that I like on a client's specific page, can I retroactively make that template? The answer is not yet, but we are working on that functionality. That is one of the big unlocks from templates 2.0 that should be coming very soon. Amy asked, do you have a timeline for when invoices and reporting revenue will come to receipts? I don't have a timeline in particular on this, but I do know this is like one of the top things that we're working on right up there with the mobile app. And Kelly asked about scanning deposits that are not vendor to credits, but actually income. So same question. You can't do that yet, but we are working on adding that soon as well. Kate asked, was the posted transactions we just showed just for receipts clients? So that is this posted transactions table right here. The answer is yes, because this only shows transactions that you've posted from the transaction titles table. So there would be nothing else to show in a non-receipts client. Karina asked, is there a feature for splitting a single document into multiple receipts? The answer is not yet, but that is another feature that we are working on, is the ability to parse out a document into multiple different receipts as distinct transactions. Okay, Christina asked, if you're adding a new vendor from receipts, can you add all of the vendor information in Keep Receipts and have it go into QuickBooks? The answer is yes. So if you're adding a new vendor, we'll autofill anything we can. And then you can also fill out any other additional information here. You can add their address, email, as I talked about earlier on today's call. You can add their EIN if you have that here, specify whether they're a business or an individual, whether 1099 tracking is required. And then when you save this vendor, it's going to post all of that information back to QuickBooks. Heather asked in the receipt screen, does the option to create a vendor rule create it in QuickBooks or Xero as well, or is the rule just for Keeper? Right now, the rule is just for Keeper. We are hoping to change that. We're a little bit constrained by the API capabilities. Rules are just not available in QuickBooks's or Xero's API. So we're talking to them, seeing if we can make anything happen. So if y'all want to push on your respective Intuit and Xero powers that be, we would welcome it. Definitely would love to do more with rules, but a little constrained at the moment. Okay, Laura asked about business days. Can we choose the day of the week? First business Monday of the month? I don't believe so. You can specify first Monday, but you can't say first business Monday. I'm not sure if you could have a non-business Monday, but you can have like first Monday, which I guess would be like, I think that should satisfy the constraint there. But yeah, so you can say first Monday, for example. Um, Someone asked for the custom reports, does the file have to be a PDF or can you upload Excel files? It does unfortunately have to be a PDF. Yausi asked, when is the Receipts app coming out? I don't have a firm, concrete deadline for that, although it is definitely right up there, our number one priority with Keeper Receipts improvements. And another question, are we going to be able to match check payments or deposits from the receipt side? Yes, that is something we are working on as well. An anonymous attendee asked, are there restrictions on the type of files Keeper can read? Generally speaking, we can read all image and PDF types, so PDF, JPEG, PNG. I know HEIC files, I don't think we can read at this time. We do convert HEIC files to PNGs, I believe, or maybe JPEGs, so that they are readable. I think there might have been a bug earlier this week where that wasn't happening, but we are going to get it fixed so that every file that your client uploads for you should be readable. Christina asked, are you working on being able to reorganize checklists within a task? The answer is yes. So that for those of you who are not familiar, basically have it. If you have two checklists, for example, here, you can't currently reorder those. We're working on a way to do that for sure. Okay, I'm going to give folks another couple of minutes, and then I'm going to pause the Q&A so that I can make sure that Jodie has ample time to talk about Templates 2.0, and then I will come back to questions at the end. So I'll answer maybe one or two more here right now. Cindy asked if I add a comment, if I tag a team member with the @ is there any way to know that the team member has read it? No, but that's a super interesting feature. I really like that idea. I definitely see how we could implement it. So I will go ahead and I'll write that down and we'll see what we can do. Okay. All right, Tyler asked, any idea if holidays are coming to the business day schedule for closing tasks? Yes, eventually. That is definitely something we'd like to add support for in your settings. You can choose what holidays you and your firm observes, when you observe them, so that it doesn't make your tasks overdue if you decide to have something due on, for example, July 4th. All right, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. I will come back to all the rest of the Q&A after we have Jodie on here. So at this point, I'm going to find Jodie in the attendees and go ahead and invite her up. Okay, so there's two Hughes and Strongs. So I'm going to promote them both to panelists. And hopefully one of them is Jodie.
Thank you, Ben.
Hey, Jodie.
Hello, hello. Hey,
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for those of you who have not seen Jodie on prior webinars or have not seen Hughes and Strong in our Facebook group or anywhere else where you may find Keeper, Hughes and Strong is among the finest, if not the finest, workflow consultants in all the land. They have thought really deeply about not only how to use Keeper to its fullest potential, but also how a bookkeeping firm can organize itself and its team members to run the most efficiently. They have built a ton of really, really in-depth templates that I thought would be good to showcase how those templates are getting updated in Templates 2.0. But with that, without further ado, I will turn things over to Jodie from Hughes and Strong.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And what kind words? I know that Erica, my business partner, is in the chat as well. So she's here, and I'm sure both of us are getting choked up by that. So thank you so much for all those kind words. So let's dive in. Let me share my screen. And we're going to dive right into Templates 2.0. As Ben mentioned, we spend a lot of time building templates and helping firms to build out their own keepers to be as efficient as possible, to optimize it, but also for those who are just starting out and get overwhelmed by Keeper, we help to break that down. So that way we can take it at bite-sized pieces to get you set up to whatever your goal might be within Keeper. So first I want to scroll down and show you, like, these are our old template 1.0. So these are all of our old templates that we've had in here. And originally, like we said, we had our closed templates and then we had project templates, and we just happened to have numbered ours. And we had our closed templates with a star here, so they were at the top. But within that closed template, we had, all of the different sections available to us. And when we were to go to apply it and then reapply it, there had been some issues with overwriting, as Ben mentioned. So the fact that now we can have this at a more granular level gives us so much more freedom. You can break these down. So for a practical thing, if you guys have templates already in here and you're wondering, how do I copy these over and break them down? Super easy. Duplicate it and then just start deleting what you don't need. And that's what I did to this one to create my, let's see, where is it? My typical non-closing tasks that I had at the top. Now I've got that broken down into one small template and I can apply it as needed. I could also duplicate this and make it into my quarterly non-closing tasks or my monthly non-closing tasks or even weekly, and then have those dates in here to make it really easy to drop into those various clients. I also created my custom close sections. I broke these out into their own. So we've got all of the keeper default, which I'll show you in just a second. But then we also have our pre-close additional items, and we added a quality control for custom sections with all these extra details in there. So now I have control over just those. But if I wanted, say, control over just my QC and I want that to be separated out, this is what I would do. I would hit duplicate. I would then remove the pre-close and remove my additional items. And now I can just have my QC. So it's fast and easy to update the ones that you already have. The default reports that Keeper brings to us. So our transaction review. And here's another thing I absolutely love about templates, because when you spend a lot of time in here, you're scrolling down, you're scrolling up, but now we can actually minimize these sections, which is amazing. So we've got our transaction review, our payee entity review, and our financial reports. All these are built into Keeper. We added SOPs and instructions for what we want done with each of these reports. So we've got this as a separate template now. And while we're in here, I wanted to highlight that if you have extra resources for the tasks that you want done, you can drop in those links into a checklist to have resources available. So we've got the Keeper resource here, as well as a walkthrough video of what to do with this particular task. Just highlighting a few extra things that you can add into your templates and into your tasks as you build them out. What do you do if you don't have templates right now? You're getting into it, you've got templates 2.0, you are excited about getting started, but you have no idea where to start. I would recommend you pick one thing. Maybe it's going to be your onboarding. Maybe it will be your close template, a certain section. Maybe it's just the QC section. Pick one thing, build that out, get familiar with it, implement it. Once that feels good, pick one more thing, then do that, so on and so forth. Taking it chunk by chunk really helps. You don't have to build out every section all at once to be able to get started in here. Let's see. Oh, as Ben mentioned, which I absolutely love, is when we apply a template to clients, we can now search for them. So you can either search by name, like you saw Ben do with Democo. You can look just for that payroll, and you can filter so that you can just apply to those. You can also hide and remove, like show or remove the columns that you're viewing. So you can see, like, we've got sales tax. So if we had a sales tax template, we could just look for those and apply it to that. Let me see. That was a big thing. I want to see, are there any questions in regarding some of these templates 2.0 or how we've broken them out that we'd like to answer?
I did see one question that is for me and not for you, which is there any way to download the current list of tasks and workflows once per quarter as a backup? Not currently, although this is something that is enabled by templates 2.0 and is something we're working on. Okay. Lori Hughesman asked if you can do this for the client. I am not 100% sure I know what this means, but Jodie, you're welcome to try and take a crack at it, or Lori, if you can clarify.
Let me set one up real quick because I didn't have one empty. So give me just a moment. and then we'll get this started. So let me know if there's any other questions we can answer in the meantime.
One question I did see in the comment is, can templates 2.0 be purchased? So just differentiating, there's templates 2.0, the feature, and then there's all the amazing work Jodie has done to create custom templates with templates 2.0. So templates 2.0 is free with the feature itself is free with your Keeper subscription. Jodie, if someone did want to acquire your templates, how might they go about doing that?
Just reach out to us. You can go to hughesandstrong.com. We've got a contact page in there as well. You can also email info@hughesandstrong.com. I believe Erica will probably post some things in the chat for quick links to get to us. But yeah, either go through our website or email us directly, and we will be happy to help. We offer up brainstorming sessions to get to know you, see what you need, figure out what your goals are. We also offer diagnostic reviews. So if you have Keeper set up a little bit, but you're not sure where to go next, we're happy to hop in, take a look around, and then give you personalized recommendations for next steps on how to reach your unique or individual goal for your firm. Okay, I believe what we want to do is apply these to a client. So I'm going to take my onboarding and I'm going to apply that to my client. All right, and then I'm also going to apply my typical non-closing tasks to the same client. And then a feature that I'm going to request is the ability to, from this screen, add multiple templates at one time.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we'll toss that feature request out there after the call. All right, so I've got those applied to my custom landscaping group. We'll minimize some of these. So the ones that I just posted are right here. Makes it nice and quick and easy. So we've got our typical non-closing, the payroll, my custom onboarding. Originally, I did not have this onboarding showing, but once you drop in the template, it takes it from the hidden and brings it forward. So that's just a quick example. Hope that helps to see the visual there. And that actually made me think of one more thing to show you in the templates that kind of combines that new feature of breaking out the non-closing tasks. So if I was in, let's see, onboarding, and I want to add another section here, I could do that. But if I'm missing the section that I want to add, I can, from this screen, go into my section manager and add. So say I wanted to do sales tax. I can make that hidden so that it's not populating on all of my clients all at once. I can just apply it or show it for the clients that I want to. So I can add that section and then I can come down here and add it. So you don't have to bounce back and forth between all of your settings. You can do that all right here from the templates screen. So then you could build that out as well. Okay.
So another couple of questions come through for you, Jodie. Can you still add non-transaction questions to a template?
Yes, absolutely. So as Ben mentioned earlier, let me re-highlight that. If you were to do a brand new template, it populates as blank. So you can choose whether you want to do non-closing area, closing tasks, or if you just want questions. So you don't even have to have a section in here. You can just do your non-closing or your non-transaction questions and create a template just for those. Yeah. What else have we got there, Ben? What else can I show for you?
We have one question from Lori, which is, if you have a task you need your clients to complete, and you need to give them, is sort of related to the most recent question, you need to give them a video or steps on how to do that, how would you set that up in Keeper?
So a great example of this is during the onboarding. A lot of people will say, I need access to your books. So here's the instructions on how to do that. You can post that link right into your non-transaction question there. If it's something that's recurring, maybe you need it more often, inventory every month or that kind of thing, we would recommend you do the recurring questions that you can do from the client level. There's not the ability yet to be able to template reoccurring questions, but you can add those in from here, going into your client portal, your non-transaction questions, and jumping over here to the recurring questions. From here, you can upload that, and same thing, you can add in a link to a video or instructions.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely seems like recurring template questions would make a lot of sense here.
Yes. We've had a lot of requests for those.
All right. Well, I think those are all the questions I'm seeing coming in from the Q&A. So Jodie, how can people get their hands on Templates 2.0? How can people learn more about Hughes and Strong and what you'll have to
Absolutely.
offer if they
Yeah.
they are not already familiar?
Yes. So like I said, hughesandstrong.com. We have a lot of resources there. hughesandstrong.com/keeper. You'll have a lot of keeper resources there. We've got several handouts on how to customize, how to build out keeper, all of that. We also host yep, Erica just posted it in the chat. We also have a monthly keeper Q&A. It's the third Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern every month. So it's right after close. So everything's fresh, and we typically start out with a deep dive on a feature, one specific feature, and then we open it up and we can help you to troubleshoot any issues you might be going in, help you brainstorm ways to utilize it. But it's a really excellent place to see good, well, how the community is currently using it. So you can ask questions and then other people chime in as well to share how they've been using it. So yeah, lots of resources available for you guys.
Awesome. And for those of you in the chat, Erica is posting the links to both that webinar and hughesandstrong.com/keeper. All right. Well, I am going to go ahead and answer a few more of the Q&A questions that we still have here in the chat. So Jodie, thank you so much for
Thank you, Ben.
and talking about all the new exciting things you can do with Templates 2.0.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Okay, I'll go back and share my screen here. Okay. Dee Dee asked, if you close a comment, does that mean the other person involved can no longer see it? It does not mean that. I think that's actually a really interesting point to talk about how keepers comment sort of segments here work. So we've got open, unread, and all. If you have something that's unread, but someone else marks it as resolved, it will still show up in your unread comments here. So open is really like a list of just like comments that someone still needs to action on. But once that is actioned and is resolved, if you have a new unread item you still need to work on, it will still show up here in your unreads. Carmen asks, is there anything in the works to add a column to transaction reports for billable or non-billable status? We are working on that. It's a little bit of some engineering under the hood that we need to work on to support that. Although for those of you who are not aware, if you have customers enabled, you can mark transaction lines as billable. So if we just open up a given expense, for example, and we come over here to our transaction line items, you can identify a transaction as billable or not, and specify the customer or project it should be billed to. Okay, Angela asked, when you are on the entire task list that shows all the tasks in Keeper, can you click can you click on a task and have it open and take you to where that task is in Keeper? I saw a related question, which is have the go to close button not or open a new window, so not work in the existing window. Both of those are actually improvements we are working on. So hopefully soon, just so that I'm talking about the same screen that that people are asking about. So here on the tasks list, if you have a question or transaction, right now you can click go to close, and that will take you to the close that contains that task. Although that will not take you to that task directly. So we're working on a way to sort of hyperlink directly to that. There is actually a workaround if you want to get the URL of a link, which is if you go to the close, which as you can see here goes in the same tab that you're in currently. If you want to get the link to a task, you can do this today by typing a comment and then copying the link to the comment to the task. I know it's a little hacky. We're working on definitely a better solution for this. But here now, if you paste that into your browser, it will take you right to that task here as well. Heather added a good point, which is having the dot in terms of when you apply templates, whether or not those get overridden, suggesting having the dot on the task name be on the template, and then removing the dot to be on the client specific task. So whatever strikes your fancy. I also saw another person in the chat mention that another interesting idea would be instead of going based on dot or not dot, adding the client's initials. So maybe like DC LLC. That way it's very obvious that there is this is a distinct task that will no longer get overwritten. So that's another interesting idea here as well. But yeah, as long as you separate the exact names from the template and the client, then when you reapply a template, it will not overwrite any changes in that client. Megan asked, can you export client questions answers from Keeper to outside sources? And can you do this manually, and can you do this by Zap? You can't currently do it by Zap, although I do think that would be really interesting, and definitely working on ways to make the non-transaction questions more connected to other internal Keeper resources and external resources as well. But you can definitely download them. Or you can, oh yeah, right here. This export CSV option will let you download them as a CSV. Carmen asked if there's anything in the works to choose service items rather than the chart of accounts account. The answer is yes. So that goes hand in hand with the ability to post invoices, which can only be done based on service items. So yeah, definitely something we're working on there as well. Saw a couple of questions here about can you see what templates you've applied to a particular client? The answer is not currently, although I do think that would be doable within the context of templates 2.0. So yeah, good feature request right there, not doable today. An interesting question. Can we have a template that when launched would populate due dates based on when it was applied? So if you had said like, I am applying this onboarding task and I want this to be due 7 days after I applied it. Not yet, although that's a super interesting idea. We could definitely look at adding here. Kelly asked, there was an issue where closed tasks where changes at the client level would impact the template level. Is that fixed in the close area too? I'm not 100% sure. I know what issue Kelly you're referring to here. So if you could write into Intercom and elaborate, I will make sure that we get whatever issue you saw addressed. Okay, and Jonna asked if I could show how to add a vendor address again. So yeah, if you're in receipts and you want to add a vendor here, click add vendor, and then there's this vendor address toggle. You can click that down, and then here you can specify all of the information before you create the vendor. Kate asked, will rotating images and receipts be available in regular non-receipts files? Definitely something we can bring into the regular files viewer. So yeah, not today, but yeah, definitely should be something we'll add. Diana asked, will Keeper be available on any platforms other than QBO and Zero? The answer is over the long term, yes. And in fact, we are exploring a couple of such integrations today. I can't promise any specifics or any timelines, but definitely the long-term vision of Keeper is that we support every ledger under the hood, so that your closing process can look exactly the same, regardless of where the underlying debits and credits sit. Kelly asked, is a QBO tag capability coming soon? The answer is ask into it. So QuickBooks tags are not available in the API, unfortunately. So our hands are a little tied there. So we can't tag any transactions and have those go back into QuickBooks. And also, of course, we can't see tags either. So if there are other features like that that you want to see that we are API constrained, so that's an example. Rules access is another example. Feel free to email your QuickBooks rep and ask them. Let them know you want to see that in the API. Definitely, that's how we leverage the squeakiness of our particular wheel to make your lives better with better syncs from QuickBooks to Keeper. Okay, one question here on any update when tasks from Outlook will be available. I don't have any particular update on that feature, unfortunately, although we are looking in some upgrades to our email functionality soon. So I will be sure to share those as soon as it's available. All right. How are receipts organized is another question. So receipts are default sorted by the date they were uploaded, although you can sort and filter anything here. And then also this search at the top will also filter down below. For example, we've got Calendly here. If we just search Calendly, it will search anything in the uploads inbox or transaction files. And then is there a way to easily download receipts that are uploaded? I believe we have a downloader tool. I'm not sure. If not, definitely something we can add. Okay, does not look like we have the ability to bulk download those just yet, although we can definitely add that. Okay, and last but not least from Diana, any question or any idea on when the ability to archive clients will be live? This is like the perennial feature request question, and the answer is I don't have a particular ETA, although it is something that we look at every week, and there's a lot of sort of underlying platform upgrades we've needed to improve, like somehow templates 2.0 was related. So now we should be building that on top of a more stable platform that I think finally the answer is soon, but I don't have a firm ETA. All right. Okay. All right. Well, that is all of the questions and all of the time. So folks, thank you all so much for joining us for the March Catch Up with Keeper webinar. Jodie, thank you so much for coming on and telling us more about all of the cool new things and existing things you can do in the new Templates 2.0 feature. Everyone, I wish you all the best of luck coming into the last 3 weeks of tax busy season, if you do taxes or if you don't, but you are subject to them by other people who do taxes. Thank you all so much for taking the time. Of course, if we can be of help to you in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, to your CSM, or to our support channel in the bottom right-hand corner of Keeper, and we will always be more than happy to help. All right, folks. Have a good rest of your Tuesday.